sentencing and victim impact statements related to Ethan Crumbley, the teen, 15 at the time, 17 now, who shot and killed 4 students at Oxford High School. Let's go back into court now for another victim who had a very close brush with Crumbley.
My name is Keegan Gregory, and on November 30th, 2021, my life and many others were changed forever. Since that day, the Oxford community, including myself, my family, my friends, and my school, have endured an unimaginable amount of hurt, pain, and trauma. What started as a normal Tuesday turned into an event that changed many of our lives forever. My life has not been and won't ever be the same. Before the shooting, I was doing well. Life was comfortable and without any major problems. I trusted that people and the world was safe, especially my hometown. On that Tuesday, I walked into the school as a normal 9th grader, yet I walked out an entirely different person. And I am overwhelmed by grief, shock, fear, and disbelief. On that day, I was trapped in the bathroom with the perpetrator and with Justin Schilling. We were stuck helpless and cornered with no defense. I was right there when he was shot and killed, yet I couldn't do anything about it. I was in absolute disbelief and shock. It doesn't feel real that somebody has the capacity to kill people without any remorse, thought, or cause. Everyone at school that day was living their own life, and there was no regard for who he shot at and or killed. It was and always will be the most terrifying moment of my life. Being cornered with no option but to run out of the bathroom as fast as I could, hoping to live. Even after leaving the bathroom, I could see bodies on the floor, blood everywhere, and knew that some of my peers were now gone. It was the day when Justin's life was cut short and he had no choice or say in it all. I know that my life could have been taken as well that day. What started as shock and disbelief on November 30th and the days following slowly became fear that overwhelmed me and brought me to a dark place, filled with sadness and grief for the families who lost someone close to them, as well as the thoughts about what other students in the school and their families were going through. Those were and are the darkest moments of my life. I felt then and still feel now the guilt of surviving. I know that if it wasn't Justin's life that was taken, it could have been mine, and I'm forever grateful to him for that. I almost feel guilty about being alive, knowing that Justin's family is living in grief. I remember meeting them for the first time and not knowing who they were, what they were going through, or how they would react. That guilt is now compounded with sadness, fear, anxiety, and trauma. It is insane that one person could change the course of so many lives with a single event and not care about them at all. My life and so many other lives were changed because of it. I did well in school, and yet after the shooting couldn't bring myself to go into school, let alone focus or learn anything. I didn't feel safe. This year I have finally been able to attend and be present in school. However, I still experience many triggers on a daily basis and have to work 10 times harder than I did before. I can't go into crowded rooms or public spaces without feeling afraid. Initially, there was a constant thought of how can I escape, because I didn't and couldn't trust anybody. To this day, I still scan rooms and people whenever I'm somewhere new because I can no longer assume that the world is a safe place.
So that is Keegan Gregory. His life forever changed. He's just going back to school now. And can you imagine going into that bathroom where he was once trapped with Ethan Crumbley? Natalie Whittingham Burrell, he touched on it, but survivor guilt is a huge issue in cases like this.
Yeah, and that's something that you hear him express, and you hear a lot of victims of crime express, that they survived, but they think of all the other people that did not. It's very touching and heartbreaking to hear such young people have to contend with these issues that usually it's older people dealing with the stresses of life have to deal with. It shows a senselessness of this type of violence. And obviously that's going to go into the consideration of the judge for the sentence that Mr. Crumbley is going to receive.
Yeah, these are situations in which adults would have plenty of problems, Katherine. But here, these are kids. Not even they're still a mass of cells. They haven't quite formed yet, and now those usual high school issues of acne and who's bullying me. they pale. It means nothing. And these guys and girls are forever changed.
And for this witness, Keegan, he was just in 9th grade when that happened. With what you were saying, that they're so young to experience this, they haven't fully developed emotionally and mentally. What is ironic is, even though Ethan Crumbley will be sentenced either life in prison without any possibility of parole or with parole, these victims and their families left behind are going to have a life sentence of their own in terms of trying to cope with this trauma, maybe for the rest of their life as well. And that's beyond tragic.
Yeah. And I'll give you the last word, Natalie, because I know I got to kick you loose here. What do you expect to see here? We will hear something from the defense. There was some issues with sanity, mental competency prior to the trial. What do you expect?
I expect for the defense to give the judge an understanding of who Ethan Crumbley is as a human being and any difficulties that he had growing up. They're going to emphasize mental health, his home situation, his life situation, anything to show that his environment is what formed him into being the person that he was and not who he is as a person, and that he can't be changed.
And the impact his parents had, that's a whole other issue, which we will get into with their situation. Hey, I've got to thank and excuse Natalie Whittingham Burrell. So good to have you along, as always. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Natalie. Okay, I'll be back in just a couple of moments here. And, of course, Katherine Lozardo is sticking around. This is Law and Crime.